Hey everybody, welcome to this next video. I wanted to take a quick moment and just really thank the people that reached out to me and just said it was cool what I was doing and that they're following along. That means a lot. You know, I've done a lot of public speaking and getting up in front of people and talking about stuff that I'm passionate about and various different things. But to actually sit here and just kind of open yourself up, it's a bit out of my comfort zone. And like I said in my first video, that means it's going to be pretty raw, and I think that's what I wanted. I want it to be raw. I want it to be real, and I want people to get a good idea of kind of where I've been and what's led me to be the person that I am right here, right now, and really then showcase what I'm so excited about and why I'm so excited for the future and the things that Crystal and I are working on with Actively Chaotic and how it's cool how sometimes things just seem to fall into place for a reason, and maybe things that you're taking criticism on or whatever is actually paving way for how you can be successful in the future. It's just crazy how it all works out. But my story, to get into it, starts like every living creature, I guess. My story starts the day I was born. Struggle number one happened on day number one, and I was born in New Westminster way back when in 1983. And, some of you might be going, well, that's not that long ago. You're not that old. Well, I can tell you, and you'll find out in the story that while I may only be 35, I feel like I'm 95. So, they've been a joke. They've been hard years. But, I was born with severe chronic epilepsy. It was actually the worst case in British Columbia that they had seen up until that point. And it was a very real, very scary time. I was born seizing, which is rare. Well, there's childhood epilepsies, is a lot more common than people like to think. But usually it's something that comes on later. To be born seizing was extremely rare, especially in 1983. And it's crazy. There was absolutely and there still is very little information on epilepsy, which is a whole nother topic, so I won't dive into it too much. But it's crazy how little information there was in 1983 and the absolute crap that my parents took from people that simply just didn't understand. And, I got all sorts of stories about support and, amazing people and amazing teachers and amazing things. But then there's also stories about people that honestly thought I was possessed, or that just thought I was lazy because I was tired, or I wasn't working hard or anything like that. And they just don't get it. They don't understand it. They're not taking the time to try and understand it. And it's sad, because I talk to people today, and they still, there's people still today that kids that are dealing with the same issues that are actually epileptic. But anyway, it was bad. And what was really bad about, I had that all the way through my elementary years. I was very, very badly epilepsy, very, very bad. And what was different about my epilepsy and which made it so much worse was that the type of seizures, they would always change. And so we would go through changing of medications, which is anyone that's been sick or has had to depend on medication knows what it's like to try a new medication, dealing with all the side effects and everything, and then waiting to see if it works, and then scrapping it, going on to another one. And it literally just takes everything out of you. But every time we would get so back then they called them grand mal and petite mal. Grand mals were the big, where you lose full body control seizures, and then the petite mal were smaller, almost like zone out seizures. And so if I was having grand mals, and then they get that under control, and then all of a sudden they go to a petite mal, and then they get those under control, and they go to a different style of petite mal, where my mom said I would actually just zone out. But I would still if I was walking, I would just carry on walking. She said one time I walked right out the open front door and just started walking towards the road, and everyone's yelling at me and saying, "Trevor, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?" And then they realize, oh my God, he's lights are on, but no one's home type deal. So, luckily they stopped me. But it took a lot out of me. What people don't understand is, your body has seizures, and, your brain has a seizure, and you need to recover. I would sleep. I remember sleeping basically my whole elementary years, sleeping half the day in the first aid room because, I was just recovering. from the seizures that I would have had that day. And, my school, I went to Heritage Elementary. They were unbelievably awesome. Nobody panicked. All the kids were awesome. It was just, okay, yeah, Trev's having a seizure. Let's do him. Let's let him do his thing. And then we'll get him to the first aid room. They can have a sleep and they'll come back to class. Like, I would just have to work that much harder than everyone else. Everything that I do took that much more work because I was either missing half the day or I was recovering or, but I managed to never fall behind. I managed to never miss a grade. And, I think maybe that's where like the beginnings of my work ethic started, just because I had to keep up with everyone. I just had to work like that. That's how it had to be. And then for whatever reason, when I was like 9 or 10, they seemed to level off. So everyone got really excited, like, well, maybe we got the right balance of medication. We got his seizures under control. And usually when that happens, they turn into something else. At that point, I think they were a mix of like a few grand mals, but mostly petite mal, zone out type seizures. And everyone was just waiting for them to switch to something else. And it never happened. And they just seemed to stop. And it was like the best day. But the damage had already been done. Like, I'd already missed so much. And I think that's what people don't get it is, when you're sick, and for any kid that's been sick or anyone that's sick, you miss so much of your life because you're just too sick to participate. Or, like there was times where I was in children's hospital, once or twice a month in Vancouver, living in Prince George. I spent birthdays there, Christmases there. My dad would constantly drive me. My mom, our lives were completely uprooted. Like, my mom needed to work but couldn't work, and my dad was working all the time and then driving me. And it was just chaos. The sacrifices that my parents made, I'm forever grateful. But you got to understand that, like, it was so bad. When I was born, I was paralyzed on one side of my body. They didn't know, because of so much trauma and everything, they didn't know if that was ever going to come back. My parents had to sign a do not resuscitate when I was still like an infant. Doctors were writing me off left, right, and center until one doctor named Dr. Hill actually got on our side and like started working through it with us year and year and year. But doctors are telling my parents, he's not going to, there's just far too much activity going on. His brain is not going to fully develop. There's just no way. There's no way. Like, the amount of seizures that he's having, even if he does recover, the impacts, where he's going to be if he gets to 10 or 20 or 30 years old. He's not going to lead a normal life. Like, these are real conversations that my parents were having to listen to of bogus doctors just counting me out and writing me off. So literally, it's like a common trend that you'll see as we go through it. It's just like people counting me out or writing me off since the day I was born. And luckily Dr. Hill got involved and worked with my parents, and nobody ever gave up. And I'm eternally grateful to my mom and dad. Thank you for never, ever, ever giving up, for always going to those appointments and always changing medications and just trying to keep pushing and finding what worked. Because I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be who I am today if they hadn't made those sacrifices. But 10 came and everything leveled off, and it was about that time that I got into dirt bikes. And it was important that I got into dirt bikes, because you got to understand, like, I was an outgoing kid. I had friends, but I had missed so much. I didn't go to birthday parties. I didn't go play hockey or sports because I wasn't allowed. I couldn't be near water. I never learned how to swim. Like, it's not that I was socially awkward. It's just I didn't have the skills, it's like I missed 10 years of events with my friends. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, hey guys, what's up? Right. So I rode every night, sometimes every weekend with my dad, just riding trails, riding dirt bikes. And it's like, they said, well, your kid's not seizure anymore. Let's give him a motor. But it really built an identity around me. It kind of like, even my friends at school were like, oh, it's Trev. He's like the dirt bike kid. Like I wasn't present to make an identity for 10 years. So it's like, by my dad buying that bike, even though this wasn't the purpose, in school, with my friends, it kind of built that, who I was and who I am. And it gave me something to focus on other than just being a recovering sick kid. And I think that was huge for me. And, you know, as we all know, that bike and all ensuing bikes have written their own story. And you know what, next video, we're getting to 10 minutes here. I'll go into that next. You know, I'll go into, you know, June 16th, 1996, and how that day has impacted the rest of my life. But, you know, I just want to say one more time, thank you to my parents, as I talk about this now and I get real about it, for not writing me off and for not giving up on me and for not listening to the people that are negative, that don't understand, that want to slam what you're trying to do, because there's too many of them. And the fact is, they just weren't educated to know that it could be done. So thank you.